Get your reservations for Olive Garden and your big dumb wiener in bed.
Get back into bed and give me that big dumb wiener.
Because we have one of the craziest elections since...
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race.
Ryan Murphy's The Politician is an over-the-top take on politics and a scathing satire on the political system, voter apathy, and political manipulation. With outlandish characters at times reminiscent of the Coen brothers, the first season of The Politician takes us into the cutthroat world of high school politics, so we're going to take a look at its ending and what it could mean for season 2. The final episode feels like it really should be the first episode of season 2. It's hard to say it's really an ending, but more of a setup for next season. We're 3 years into the future, and the events of Santa Barbara and the election are long behind Peyton. He's a student at NYU, has given up on his dream of becoming the president, attending Harvard, and has subsequently taken to the bottle. This is a completely different Peyton than the one we saw in the first episode, who would stop at nothing to become president.
I will win at all costs. I know what my future's gonna be, and I know how to get there. And I will not be stopped.
Infinity and Sky have come to visit and have to carry him back because he's so drunk. For a series that spent much of its time focusing on Infinity and the dynamic with her mother, this episode leaves Infinity's arc for next season up in the air. We do know she's living off the advance from her story, but how she'll play into season 2 is a mystery. Her boyfriend Ricardo, who is one of my favorite characters, is also in jail, but if he's released, it could definitely throw a wrench in Peyton's bid for New York Senator. But we'll get into that in a bit. Peyton will find his dorming with James, his friend and political advisor who backstabbed Peyton by sleeping with Alice. And when Peyton finds out Alice is to be married to a man she doesn't truly love named Thad, he makes a last-ditch effort to sway her back. It's also interesting to note Peyton's third roommate, Kai Ji. I'm certain he wasn't randomly put in there and that his character will come into play next season. After all, Peyton does know Mandarin, even though he got a D- on his report card, and with season 2 focusing on a Senate race, it's likely we're going to get bigger political players like the Chinese involved. How Kai will be involved is still up in the air, but I'm certain this was part of a setup that will be exploited next season. Meanwhile, the episode spends most of its time setting up Peyton's political rival, Senator Dee Dee Standish, and her overbearing chief of staff, Hadassah Gold. They're really setting up Hadassah as the main villain next season, especially through her treatment and sense of entitlement in her interactions with low-end staffers like Junior Senator from Texas's intern and even McAfee, a girl who went from the head of Peyton's political campaign now relegated to sending flyers in the mail. Senator Standish hasn't been primaried for years. She runs unopposed with political aspirations beyond the Senate. That's why she's approached by the senator from Texas to be his running mate in the presidential election. She accepts. She's become complacent. Her campaign office is a relic from the 90s, and there's no energy surrounding her or her campaign. So when McAfee notices this, she sees an opportunity for Peyton to reignite that flame for political greatness, his ambition. But as Peyton says, it was his ambition that got him into this mess in the first place.
I screwed up everything in my life. My ambition just poisoned every decision.
But it's Peyton's realization of this that almost completes his character arc for the season. His ambition clouded his judgment. He did terrible things as a result of it, hurt himself and others, and to mask the pain of it, he excessively drinks in a vain effort to cope. But to fully complete his arc, he must pick himself up and start again, now armed with the knowledge of his past flaws. It takes his friends to motivate him to run, but there's one problem. How the hell is he supposed to take on a seasoned incumbent like Dee Dee Standish? Cue Astrid. She's moved to New York after sending her father to jail. While on a catering gig, she noticed Senator Standish and her love affair with 2 men. She's in a throuple. Armed with this knowledge and McAfee's belief that if Peyton focuses on a single relatable issue, he might just stand a chance at taking down the senator. But what really makes Peyton all in is his final talk with the ghost of River. River provided the ultimate foil for Peyton. Whereas Peyton was calculated and mechanical, River was authentic, from the heart, and grounded. Throughout the season, Peyton is visited by River's ghost as a means to have his character grow and learn. River kept him in check. After visiting Peyton in the bar, he tells him that there's more honor in defeat than in unused potential, leading Peyton to agree to run against Senator Standish. Alice, upon hearing that Peyton is taking the plunge, leaves her own wedding in order to be by his side. Her love for Peyton is so strong she faked a cheating scandal in order to boost Peyton's poll numbers for the high school election. It will be interesting to see what length she's willing to go for Peyton and the campaign next season. Campaigns also happen to cost a lot of money. Luckily, there are a lot of places Peyton could look to bankroll his campaign. Astrid's family, Alice's, an arrangement with his own father, or even the Chinese. But what the show doesn't really delve into that deeply is why Peyton wants to be president so deeply. Why has he spent every waking moment to this one pursuit? The answer lies in his upbringing. Peyton was adopted and never knew why his biological parents abandoned him. What better way to gain a feeling of acceptance than by winning an election? A way to prove that you are wanted. I wouldn't be surprised if Peyton's true birth parents came into the picture in future episodes as well. And here's a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy. What if Dee Dee Standish is Peyton's biological mother? That could be absolutely crazy. Speaking of family, will Gwyneth Paltrow reprise her role as Peyton's mother? She's off in Bhutan, which just so happens to border Chinese-controlled Tibet. Yet another way the writers could link China to Peyton's campaign. But what I'm more curious about is how Peyton's campaign will differ from his high school one. Will the team continue an anything-it-takes approach to winning, or will it be more reserved? Seeing as how this season had many over-the-top elements, my guess is that we'll be in for more of the same, this time with even more at stake. And what will happen to Jessica Lange, and will we see her return as Dusty Jackson? When asked by Entertainment Weekly if we'll see Dusty again, she replied, quote, "I don't think so. I mean, Dusty's not one of those that has a second act," end quote. So it looks like this might be the last we see of her. Finally, I want to talk about one of the more interesting episodes, number 5, The Voter, which almost exclusively follows one character as they go through Election Day. It's this episode that shines a light on voter apathy and the feeling that our votes don't make a difference, affect us, or that those who are in charge simply don't have our well-being at heart. We follow Elliot Beachman, an apathetic, undecided voter who Astrid and Peyton try to get to vote for them. They don't actually care about him as a person, they just want his vote, which speaks to what many Americans believe. In the 2016 election, almost half of eligible voters didn't even vote. When asked if he voted, Elliot says that his vote doesn't even matter. This is especially interesting because we find out later from the principal that Peyton lost by 2 votes. One that could have been Elliot's and this girl whose vote was suppressed because she didn't have her student ID. But at the core of what the writers are trying to say here is not that people are dumb for not voting, it's that the politicians in charge treat them as votes and not as people. That no matter who they vote for, things won't change. If we can instill in them a reason to vote, to get behind a candidate, maybe some real change can happen. The Politician Season 2 is shaping up to be even bigger than Season 1, with a huge shift from high school campaign to the US Senate. With such a huge shift, it'll be interesting to see where the new season goes and what this could mean for our characters. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe with the bell on, as I have more videos coming your way. You can also follow me on Twitter at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.